One of the most fun things you can do in all Diablo Immortal is try all the different classes. However, what of the classes is the most fun class, and what's the order of funness for you to try out? So on today's list, we're going to be doing a tier list of all the Diablo Immortal classes, but a fun tier list of the most fun to the least fun class. Let's start with the Barbarian, one of my personal favorite classes, but also a class that I have both not enjoyed at all right when I started it and then enjoyed a lot more later. This is one of the classes that I firmly believe you're going to need to have the essences for to enjoy the game fully with them. However, once you have the builds maxed out, the Barbarian can farm very quickly and is arguably one of the most fun in PvP, as you have Undying Rage, giving you the ability to stay alive no matter what your power level is. Now, why I originally thought Barbarian would have been a C or a D, my time playing Barbarian in PvP as well as PvE has raised it to an A for me. The reason I think Barbarian is so fun is mainly if you are a PvP player. However, the Sprint Fire build is so enjoyable and fun to use as an overworld farmer that it really makes a large part of the game enjoyable, and the ability just not to die with Undying Rage removes a lot of the actual, ironically, the rage parts of the game from you getting one shot and allows you to kind of make mistakes, especially while playing on some of the smaller phones. I think Barbarian's solidly an A for enjoyability. Now, the Wizard is an interesting class because it has multiple builds that are fairly viable. You have the Firestorm Fire plus Wind build, you have the Wind plus Freezing Freeze build, you have your Disintegration plus the Crystal Beam combo. It actually is one of the classes in the game that has the most potential for some of the combos. In my personal opinion, combos can actually be quite fun and are some of the better things in the game. Wizard is also the combination that enabled the coolest combo I've ever seen in the game, which is the Crusader plus the Mage Beam plus the actual crystal, all comboed together to do this giant AoE. Just so fun and so enjoyable. And for that reason today, I think it's fairly obvious. If you're going to ask me, I think Wizard is an S tier enjoyable class for the combinations it has. It has teleport, it's good in PvP, it's good in PvE, and while it's good, it's also fun to play as, and it has a variety of ways that you could actually build this class. Demon Hunter for me is going to be a mix. I think Demon Hunter originally is one of the funnest classes to play if what you're trying to do is enjoy the game on a casual level when you start. If you're a big Diablo fan, the Demon Hunter has a lot of lore potential. If you like the thematics of it, it's quite cool. The animations are cool. You feel like a ninja or like a ranger hunter when you're playing it. You actually feel like a Demon Hunter and some of the powers are strong. Unfortunately, I think when that translates to enjoyability, once you play the game long enough, it starts to fall off heavily, and I actually don't think the Demon Hunter is that fun to play. The reason is because the Demon Hunter only has really a couple viable builds and one really meta build. That meta build is all about just holding down the spacebar and shooting your basic attacks over and over and over again. So if you like just basic attack nonstop, you might like them S tier. However, the Demon Hunter for me is B tier enjoyability, even though when I played it, I originally thought it was S tier in terms of fun and enjoyability. Demon Hunter for me, out of all of the classes, is the ones that fall off the most as you've played it more. For that reason, because Diablo is sort of an endless grind where you do the same thing over and over again, in my opinion, Demon Hunter gets the most boring, the quickest out of all of the classes, even though it starts on a very high level of enjoyability because it's so smooth. All right, let's talk about the Monk. Now, the Monk is one that's got a lot of drama behind it. A lot of people have swapped to Monk lately because of the strength of Monk and the viability of Monk in PvP. If we're talking PvP, Monk is easily the most fun class, in my opinion, out of all of the PvP to play because you have instantaneous nuke damage. This is one of the classes that is fairly unique in regards to being able to dive almost instantly onto the back line, even while you're diving. Some of that distance traveling can also trigger damage depending upon your build, as well as you can literally one-shot somebody depending upon how strong you are with your full combination, and you can one-shot multiple people as it's in AoE. It's also very fun to play in PvE, and in my opinion is one of the funnest classes to try to put challenge rifts in if you're not really trying to be the strongest person in the entire game and you just want to play the cool combinations. It has the Firestorm combination procs. It has some good PvP procs as well. I'm actually a really big fan of the Monk from an enjoyability perspective. I think the Monk is both S tier in PvP as well as S tier in PvE in terms of enjoyability because of the reasons stated, but mostly because the entire class has you warping all over the map. I mean, you are consistently, even your basic attack literally teleports you the minions nonstop. You are quickly around the map. It plays the most out of a D3 class out of all of the classes today, and is fun in both PvP and PvE, though in PvP, it is even higher than S tier in terms of enjoyability. It's the most fun because of how broken it is. Crusaders are going to hate me saying this, but I don't find the Crusaders enjoyable in PvP literally remotely. I find PvP Crusader to be terrible in terms of enjoyability, so that's going to lower my ranking of it. However, this might come as a shock to the Crusader mains. I actually don't think they're that unenjoyable in PvE. Now, granted, to be fair, I've only swapped to this class and played it a grand total of 2 times, whereas all the other ones on this list I've played 3, 4, 5 times. I swap all the time, and I have gathered basically all of the essences for all the classes, and Crusader's the one I'm lacking on the most, to be fair. However, I have played a significant amount of Crusader compared to anyone who'll be starting the game this day, and I've played this game for the last 8 months. Some of that has been as the Crusader, and every time I get enjoyability out of the Crusader, it would be from doing dungeons as the Crusader. I've said it before, I'll say it again, Holy Banner is the best move in all of Diablo Immortal, and it makes your entire team extremely strong. What is fun about this class is feeling like people want to play with you. You have the ability to set up combinations. You have the ability to make other people on your team even better. You have the ability to run dungeons basically faster than any other class because of that innate Holy Banner ability. And the horse, even though it's buggy on PC, which I hear they're fixing, the horse is actually just one of the coolest moves in the entire game. So if I had to be fair, I don't think the Crusader is miserable to play. I just don't think it's fun to play in PvP, but it is good in PvE. I would put it next to the Demon Hunter in B. You're going to notice even the ones that I'm kind of giving bad ratings are going to say they're not really in the C and D tier, and I purposely left them on here as a point that I want to make, which is that all of the classes in this game are actually enjoyable to play in some way or another. It's only when we rank them subjectively against each other will there actually be a list, because one thing they did well in this game is make the PvE viable for all classes. You don't have to worry about what's the busted class in PvE, because they're all busted in PvE. You only have to worry about combat rating in this game. Last but certainly not least is going to be the Necromancer. Now, this one might shock people also because I am a gigantic Necromancer show. In fact, if you look at the portrait of this guy, the hair in this lighting, not so much, but you look at the portrait and you look at him when he's got his ginger hair, I actually look a little bit like this guy, which is kind of funny. I mean, look at that right there, and then cut to this. Unfortunately, we share a little bit of a resemblance, so it's been a little bit of a meme. I even have a cosplay for this. All that to say, I've played Necromancer more than anything else. I've been a giant shill for Necromancer. I love Necromancer. I think it's an extremely good class. It might be surprising for you to hear, I don't think Necromancer is as fun as the other classes. And the reason I say that is the same reason that other people might say they like the Necromancer, is the same reason I have been a shill for the Necromancer. It's because of the summons. The summons are super cool in this game, and they are, how to explain it, they're the lazy man's way to play the game. You just walk around dropping summons, and the summons kill everything for you. However, there's a problem with this. Even though they're super cool and fun, you don't really get like these permanent pets like with the skeletons. You have to constantly resummon the mages. You have to min-max knowing when the mages should be up. You have to min-max the golem build. You have to go all in on the PvE summoning build for it to really be good, including things like reforge bonuses, set items, and all of which for the Necromancer is completely separate from what the PvP viable build is. Meaning if you're going to play Necromancer in the entirety of its game, you have to focus on 2 builds at once and play 2 different styles of the game. I also don't think Necromancer in PvP is very fun, which might actually be a contentious point, but I do actually don't think Necromancer is very fun in PvP, and I have 3,000 resonance. I'm well, I've spent enough to be able to pay my way into, killing some people in PvP, and I still don't think it's very fun because you're sort of relegated to a CC level where all you have to do is continually CC. You're effectively what the problem is in the game when it comes to PvP. You have non-diminishing return CC lock, and you just CC lock down people all the time. I don't really enjoy the support role as much as other classes, but the Necromancer PvE summons are so much fun that they kind kind of balance each other out. So I can't give it today in good conscience an S tier because I legitimately think for most people the wizard will be more fun, and I legitimately think for myself as well as most people the monk might be more fun. But there's no way that the necromancer isn't at least as fun as the barbarian. And looking after all the classes that I've now played in this day and age, I actually think the barbarian and the necromancer I've been enjoying about the same, and for me, arguably, the Barbarian has been the most fun out of all of the classes right next to the Monk. So if this was a hyper-personalized list, it would look more like this. I would bump the Barbarian up to S and the Wizard down here with Necro, as I just find the Intelligence classes to be more A-tier enjoyability. But for vast majority of the people, I think the list is going to look up something like this, with the only really argument being maybe Necromancer could be bumped up to the S tier. That's my personal opinion on the list. Again, this is highly subjective. It's just from a positive, looking at how I enjoy the game and where I think the fun comes from the game. So use it with a teaspoon of salt, but if you're trying to have some fun in Diablo Immortal, maybe try out these classes in that order. 3, 2, if you enjoyed this video, consider checking out my 5 reasons to play Diablo Immortal in 2023, or if you want something a little bit more critical and feedback, maybe look at why Diablo Immortal is about to change forever.